Welcome to Freezer Milk Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, along with my husband, Chris. Podcast where we talk about the comedic side and serious side of parenting, life, and relationships. We are boy parents. We have two boys, Enzo and Rhett, with about a 6-year age gap between the two. You can check out our website, freezermilk.com. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Freezer Milk Podcast. Thanks and hope you enjoy. Welcome back.
Hey.
Survived a nice holiday weekend. Got some stuff done around the house. I always find it interesting when you talk with people that don't have kids or you talk with people that are like first-time parents, and it really makes you sit back and think about like, what are the things I wish someone had told me about becoming a parent?
Yeah. There's a lot of different things that I wish. There's no handbooks, man.
No.
I mean,
there's plenty of books.
There's plenty of books, but there's no like real like gritty like, hey, this is the cold hard truth about parenting.
What did you say today when Rhett came out? You thought I birthed the purple Teletubby?
Oh yeah. Well, he was in cow, and
which
you were in a tub.
Means that it's like he's still in his sack of amniotic fluid because my water didn't break, so he was born in a sack of amniotic fluid, and then I was like in the tub, so he was underwater in a sack of water. So double underwater.
Yeah, you did a birth in a tub, and this you got to understand. This is the first birth that I've like seen and witnessed, right? So this thing comes out in this sack and is purple, like the whole thing's purple. And to me, I was like, "What is this? This is the purple Teletubby? This isn't mine." You know, like because it was just.
But nobody tells you that when a baby's first born, their blood hasn't like. They take a couple minutes to like pink up, like because their blood isn't exposed to air, oxygen, all of that. You know, so it takes them a couple minutes to pink up. They're kind of purple gray, like. Their hands and feet are kind of like a grayish purple blue. And
they're actually really ugly.
When they're first born, yeah. They're not cute. But nobody really talks about that. Like, hey, it's going to take a minute or two. So don't be shocked. And like their hands and feet take the longest because they're the most far extremities. So like their fingers and toes, they take a little while to not be a couple, sometimes half an hour to not be purple.
They didn't tell me, also another thing is that no one ever told me how naive I was going to be when it came to pregnancy and birth. When I met Bridget, she had already had a son, and there were certain things that she wanted to do with him, but she wasn't able to for whatever reasons. And so with me, she ran these ideas past me, like, she wanted a midwife. And I'm like, I'm like, you have a baby in a hospital. Like, that's what you do. You have a doctor. I'm like, if you said you did a bunch of research, you're like, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, it's your birth. You can do whatever you want. But it wasn't just that. It was after that you were like, hey, I want a photographer. And I'm like, oh, for like after? And you're like, no, like during. And I'm like, like during?
You're like, are you going to be like spread eagle?
Yeah, I'm like,
these aren't porn photos.
I'm like, what is this about? Like, people do that? Like, you can pay people to do that? And then you're like, so we did that. And then you're like, hey, I want to have a birth doula. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And you're like, oh, well, it's somebody that supports us while we're doing this. And I'm like, well, that's what our parents are for, right?
And then you remembered who our parents are.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, so, we'll just go this route. We'll try this out. And, that's Bridget. This is what she wants to do. So let's let her do it. So she does that. And
I want to do a birth center.
Yeah, you wanted to do a birth center, but then you wanted postpartum care. Which I was like, what is postpartum care? That's a thing? Like, you wanted, what was the other thing that you wanted?
We saw a lactation consultant quite often.
Lactation. Like, there's just so many different things as a guy you never knew about until it's right on top of you and it's a smack in the face. You're just like, oh, wow, I got to do all these different things. And
I was like, today we're talking with a midwife about cord blood banking.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is that? Like, and I don't feel like I'm a professional parent by any means, but I've got a stepson under the belt, and I've got a son under the belt. And now we're on to another one. So I got to be mediocre at least, But she brought this up, and I'm like, what is that?
And we're talking about that. We're talking about delayed cord clamping. Because if you do cord blood banking, you can't delay cord clamp. And I was like looking at you like, I wonder if he remembers that we did delayed cord clamping with Rhett.
Yeah.
Because what it does is like, you just wait longer to clamp and cut the umbilical cord so that the baby gets all of the blood like that was traveling through it and everything else.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of things. Like, no one tells you the anxieties.
No. Of parenting.
Uh-huh. Or
Especially
how much, last week Rhett, fell on his mouth and like got a cut.
Yeah, started bleeding.
And how much no one tells you how much it impacts you to see your child bleed.
Oh, it's amazing. You feel completely fucking hopeless.
Uh-huh.
In those moments.
Yep.
And then, he's running around the house. He's at a point where he is a full-blown walker and runner, but he is not the best walker or runner. And he gets really excited when he runs fast, and Enzo kind of likes to chase him. And he chased him around a corner or something, and he tripped over an area rug and smacked his head on the tile.
It was a good one.
It was a good one. Turn immediately went black and blue.
Yeah, like as soon as he sat up, it was purple, black, and blue, and I was like, "Ooh, makes me nervous."
It's just things that you don't.
And like, no one tells you, like, "Hey, guess what? When your toddler falls and cracks their head, they're not going to let you put an ice pack on it for more than a second."
Right.
So all of the notes online that are like, "Hey, try to ice it for 10 to 15 minutes every other hour." What child is going to let you hold this cold thing to their head that they just hit and it hurts?
Mm-hmm.
Who's sitting still for that? Nobody.
There's just so many things that in the day-to-day that kids do or say, or you just like, it's like Enzo. No one ever told me how to respond to he's so emotional. Like, he's an emotional person. No one's ever really told me how to respond to that. Like, it's very difficult.
Deeply feeling child.
Yeah, it's really difficult because I'm not that way.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's so interesting to think about just the little stuff. Like, I remember I used to have the debate when I lived in an apartment of when Enzo would fall asleep in the car. Or not even fall asleep, but like when I had Enzo and I had groceries, I was like, I live on a second floor apartment, like not right next to the parking lot. Like, you have to like walk a building in. Do I leave my 2-year-old unattended in my apartment? Or do I leave my 2-year-old unattended, strapped in his car seat in the car? Which is the lesser of two evils? How do I get the groceries and the kid all inside? Do I carry him on my hip and take one bag at a time and make 35 trips? I have no idea. I don't know what to do. But it was like that thought of, I don't know how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And, trying to go to the bathroom in public with children. You have to think about like if you had Rhett and you or Rhett were going somewhere and you had to go to the bathroom, you have to figure out, do I bring the whole stroller in and like go in the handicap stall and like my kid just sits there watching me use the restroom real quick? Or if the handicap stall is not available and they're small stalls, like what do I do with a stroller? Or do I hold my kid and leave the stroller outside of the bath? Like the small stuff that you don't really think about, that once you have a kid, you run the situation, you're like, what do I do?
Takes a village.
It does. What are some other things you feel like surprised you, or like random ones that you're like now is second nature that you think about, but maybe when it first happened you were like, how impossible diaper cream is to get off of anything?
Yeah, depending on the diaper cream, but yeah, it's thick.
It's very thick.
It's like motor oil that's been frozen. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just, I think every day I think of something and I'm like, that's weird. Or, I don't know. It's just different. You're different when you don't have kids.
We've been thinking a lot about our upcoming trip that we're going to have with 2 children and trying to like you're talking about the other day, you're like, remember when we could just pack a suitcase and go on vacation? And now, especially with like younger children, like we have to figure out car seat situations, and we have to figure out
which stroller
are we taking, and which one are we okay with getting damaged, and where is the child going to sleep? And
we got to take sound machines. We've got to take this
potentially a baby monitor, and if we're staying somewhere that has stairs, do we need to get a baby gate for the stairs?
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, it's just, it's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily always think about. Or, even like when we first arrive at our destination, we need to probably run to the store. So we have snacks and drinks and things that in the morning when the kids get up, they're okay with having something to eat and not waiting until everybody's ready for breakfast, because their routine is they get up and have a banana or a rice cake or, some cereal.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, though, just all the like little things that don't always cross your mind that now when you're a parent you start to think about. It's interesting, for sure. We talked about this week also trying to go on a date.
Yeah, we still haven't been able to really make that happen.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it. We'll figure it out. Nanny's just going to have to work overtime.
It's just tough.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little challenging. There's some good restaurants, though, that are opening up around us.
Yeah, so you're right. There's just so many different things you don't really think about. Like, we're very big on house projects. And
we love house projects.
Yeah, it's great. But if you have kids, one of the parents has to watch the kids. Like we're building a new feature fireplace wall in our living room that's going to house a manhole and a fireplace and TV and stuff. And, Rhett, he's so into everything and wants to climb my ladders and hold my pencil and hold my saws. And he's just, you constantly have to be.
Someone has to be watching them.
Yeah, you have to be.
And you don't think about stuff like we put him down for a nap and then started like drilling drywall in 12 minutes after he went down for a nap. And neither one of us thought about like, hey, this is probably kind of loud. Sure as shit, he woke up.
Yep, and then you didn't go back to sleep either.
He had a 12-minute nap. But like, it's just stuff you don't think about. Fireplace wall looks really fucking cool though.
Yeah.
You and I struggled through some communication with it.
I didn't struggle, you did.
We struggled through some communication with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we've set on a plan and a design, and I go to the store and get material for that design, that specific design, and then I come home and start building it, and you tell me that's not what you wanted. So yeah, there was a little bit of a hiccup on your part.
Two sides to every story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your side?
We set on the design. I wanted an inside-out set. And that is not what you heard. You heard outset.
You never said the words inside outset.
I said I wanted a stair-step effect. I wanted it bumped in and bumped out.
Anyway,
So he gets home with the lumber. And I was like, okay, we have to do this part here. And you looked at me and you're like, can you just fucking pick a plan? Right. Make up your fucking mind, Bridget. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is what I told you.
No, it wasn't.
You're like, no, it's not.
It was not. We were going to do it.
You're like, now I got to buy more lumber.
So I had to go back to the Home Depots.
Did you kind of overthink it a little bit, though?
Yeah, once I wrapped my head around the fact that you completely changed. You know what? Honestly, I'm a contractor. I should be used to this. Business is change order. But I don't get to charge you for this. It only affects me. You get what you want, but I got to redo it and make sure that it's... So yeah, that was an interesting one. But
I did have some good suggestions though through it, like, hey, let's draw this on the wall because I think it'll help, or let's measure this out because then it'll help visualize what we're doing.
Well, now that it's at where it's at, it's it actually makes sense and looks good. So
it's gorgeous.
But yeah, projects at home with kids.
Oh, Oh yeah, so Rhett is into everything. And then
he likes to climb on our kitchen table.
Enzo is slightly sound sensitive sometimes. Like selectively.
Like, is it so bad that I'm like, I love the kid, I do, but he can be such a pansy. I'm like, dude.
He's selective about, he really doesn't like projects. Because remember, it used to be when he was little, he'd be like, oh, there's sawdust in the garage. Yeah. It's going to make me cough.
Yeah.
No, bro, it doesn't make you cough. Like, the sawdust is not flying around in the air. There's a pile of sawdust on the ground or 3 sawdust flakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he's very, he is not into projects because it means that we are not
paying attention to him,
actively playing with him, and we're making him self-entertain during the time that we're working on the project. And so he's very selective about, so like recently it's been, oh, well, the drill makes a really loud noise and it, it's going to break my eardrums. And we have headphones for him that are used for gun ranges, and told him to put them on. He tells us they don't work. They're meant for a gun range. Like, they do work, I promise. But the reason I say it's selective is that he can be screaming and yelling with friends on a play date, and they can be screaming and yelling too, and it doesn't bother him, and that's louder than
what we're doing.
A drill.
Because he's in the other room.
Yeah. Like, it's selectively choosing what's bothering him.
Yeah.
Which is hard to figure out how to parent around.
Yeah, I just get frustrated with him quickly. I
think you're like, you're going to have a rough life. When he was complaining about the sound, like, my eardrums
he was complaining about his eardrums, and I was frustrated and heated in the moment, and I was like,
you're in a hard time in life, then.
It's like, I said, I don't know how you're going to make it through life.
I looked at you like, oh, God. But I told him, I said, Enzo, hey, like, we have empowered you with headphones. They do work. If you are aware of sounds that bother you, you need to take it upon yourself to put your headphones on.
Yeah, and we've got a pretty decent-sized home. Why don't you go way over in your bedroom?
Right. If we're working on a project, we are working on a project. You can see it's not completed.
Yep.
You can hear we're working on a project from a distance.
Yeah.
Like, own a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's
a balance, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one end of the spectrum of doesn't like it, doesn't want to be anywhere near it, and the other one is trying to
climb my ladder,
grab the drywall saw.
Trying to lick the drywall dust off of the floor, eating drywall.
He was trying to climb the 2x4s.
He gets upset because if you take him out of the room, because he really just wants to be working with Dad and grabbing my level and whatnot.
He's like, you're on the ladder, and he's trying to climb the ladder after you.
Yeah, and I kicked him in the face, getting down. It was just, I can't win. I'm like, I just want to do this project. That's all I want to do.
That's a big thing that changes after kids, though, is all of a sudden,
you don't have that flexibility.
That kind of stuff where you never would have thought about it before. Like, oh, let me just bang this out over a couple of days, no big deal. And you're like, oh, there's a lot of things moving around in the same space.
Yeah. There's a whole new element now that I have to be wary of.
We also knocked out the project at your mom's house.
Yeah, we did her closet. She doesn't even like it. So.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I know. To us it does, but to her, who is...
Her sister was there to install it. Her sister thinks it's stunning.
Yep. But she's just the type of person that...
She doesn't like change.
Yeah.
She thinks she wants change, but then when it happens, she doesn't necessarily always like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm just glad I'm done with that project, because I don't want to have to go back over there for anything. Except my check.
I feel like it's been a week of, disappointing family. We disappointed your sister, too.
Yes, we did.
Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
No, we're going back east, and that's where she lives, her and her family.
They just recently moved out there.
Yeah, they just recently moved out there. She's been wanting us to come visit, so... We are, but you also were born in Maryland, where we're going.
20 years of my life out there.
And you have family back there, and you have cousins and friends and people you want to see. And unfortunately, my sister doesn't live anywhere near your friends or your family. It's hours in different directions.
Yeah.
So we picked a center point on the map, and we're like, hey, we're going to stay here. We'll go see, these people, and then we'll go see, we're going to stay at a hotel or Airbnb or whatever we're doing, and then we're going to go spend a day with my sister. And then we're going to travel and spend some time with your family and stay at your cousin's house. Well, I called and talked to her about it to figure out which day would work for her. And she's like, what do you mean, which day? How long are you going to be here? And I was like, well, we're going to be here these dates through this date. And she's like, well, you're not staying here? And I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, why? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I don't want to stay at your house. I said, honestly, we've got other people we're seeing there, not just you, and she didn't take that very well. I think she was a little frustrated by it. And I'm like, look, when you come out here, you don't typically stay with us. And
you barely see us.
You barely see us. You'll come out here and you'll see us for a couple hours and you're on a plane home.
Yep.
I'm like,
I think the last time she was here 5 days, and we saw her for 2 hours.
Yep, and then she was on a plane out. And I'm like, I just don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm going to come see you for a day.
Like, I'll give you an entire day.
Yeah, an entire day.
We'll come 12 hours.
We'll come hang out and do dinner and lunch and all that fun stuff. And then we have other people we're going to go see, And I'm the type of person that I don't really want to stay at somebody else's house. We have a baby, you're pregnant, we've got Enzo. Like, we need our space, we need our privacy. If I go stay at her house, it's 1 bedroom. Like, the whole house is, big enough. But she has 1 bedroom for us that we would have to share with the baby.
Yep.
And it just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense
They
for
have
us.
5 people living in the house and a dog.
Yeah, and you want to
add 4 more.
Yeah, and it's
just a lot.
Yeah, it's too much.
And then it's a 3-story house because it's a basement and 2 stories above ground. And
so I told her,
I think it burned her when you're like, yeah, then we're gonna go stay with Bridget's cousin,
who has a 3-bedroom townhouse that's brand new and he lives there by himself.
Yeah, and he's vacationed with us.
I need more of a calming environment.
Yep.
I don't want to travel and just be go and stressed out the entire time. Sorry. So I need, if I'm traveling, I'm already going to be stressed out because I'm traveling with kids under the age of 10 and it's exhausting. So
she was definitely not happy though.
Not happy about it.
No. And the days we gave her, she was not
thrilled about.
No. We gave her 2 options.
Unfortunately with her, it's always on her time, her schedule. It's always been that way. It's about what works for her. Honestly, I'm not building my life around her. So
I always laugh because, it doesn't matter how many times you tell her or your mom, they don't seem to understand the fact that I spent over 20 years of my life in Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, you have history there.
I want to show you where the house I grew up in and, where my stomping grounds were and get you to enjoy some of the different restaurants or coffee shops that I liked and meet, some of my friends and see family that have come out here to see us and stay with us and be able to go and see them and do silly things like, hey, let's go to a pumpkin patch. Let's take a day and just have a chill day and do our pumpkin patch out there on an actual farm versus in Arizona in a dirt lot.
Yep.
Low key stuff. And here's some parts of DC I really like that are touristy, and then here's some cool things that are not as touristy. Just doing those different things because, again, majority of my life was there. And, I've seen all the houses you've lived at here in Arizona, and I've seen where you went to high school, and you've shown me your childhood and your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to be able to do that with you. But your family constantly forgets, I lived there. Not for a year or 2 years, over 20 years I lived there.
Yeah.
And I've only been out in Arizona for 9, so it's not like it was, a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to me. But it was between her and your mom not loving her closet because it's a change from what she was used to. It was a week of disappointing them.
Yep, pretty much. It's about all we do is disappoint them. And I'm okay with that. I don't care.
I mean,
the real reason we talked about this, my dad lives with my sister, and my dad hasn't even met my son, who's almost 2 years old.
Oh.
My first son, my firstborn son. Never met him, never Skyped with him, never talked to him on a phone. I mean, not that he can talk to him on the phone, but he's never tried.
Yeah.
But I figure, my dad's 75 years old, he's getting up there in age. I'm at least going to introduce him, fly out there, introduce him so he can meet his grandson. Because who knows? If
it might be the only time.
It might be the only time he gets
to
meet my son.
take a picture and show Rhett when he's older.
Yep, here's your grandpa. This is because I need to get a picture of him, and I'll say, hey, you met grandpa. You probably don't remember him. Here he is.
One of my grandparents passed away when I was like 2. And
yeah.
There's pictures, but I don't remember them at all. But there are pictures.
Yeah, I mean, at least you got a picture sitting on his lap or something, you know? It's just... So that's why we're going. I mean...
I think it's interesting, like you and I talked about it today, because you were saying that we were talking about just business ventures and all of that, and you're like, you know, a couple different people I've listened to, they all say that this one way is the way to do it, and follow this person's plan, and use this person as a mentor. And you were like, I've listened to that person, and I don't like what they're putting out. I don't love their message. And you and I had that conversation. I had to remind you that the way that we do things is not the normal way of doing them.
Yeah.
We've always been people that strategically find other ways to get to a result. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know,
I think that's why we work, because we both go against the grain. Mm-hmm. And we are not content with what everybody else has done.
Yeah.
You know, so
we want to try it our own way.
Yeah. Because there's
whether it works or it doesn't. Like, we want to be able to say, hey, we tried it and it failed, mm-hmm. or we tried it and it worked, but we tried it our own way.
Yeah. And, you know, my sister and my mom are similar beings
to each other.
Yes. They're pretty similar. And they very much like their things their way. My sister even said it on the phone. She was like, hey, you know, we have a schedule. We have this, and this. And I'm like, you know, I'm not coming out there to be part of your schedule. Like, I'm not using all my airline miles and spending thousands of dollars to come out to this area to be part of a
secluded.
Yeah, that's secluded to be part of a schedule. I'm sorry. I'll come visit you for a day.
Yep.
And then we're gone.
We'll give you multiple choice options. You tell us which one works.
Yeah. So I don't know. It didn't go over well. She was not too happy about it, which is fine. I mean, if she's still sour about it when we get there, I probably won't even go. Yeah. You know, I don't. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the trip was not to see them.
No.
The trip was to see where I grew up, to see family and friends.
No, you've been even before my sister moved there. You said you wanted to go back to Maryland. Yeah. We didn't do our annual beach trip with Enzo. Enzo said he didn't want to go to the beach because he was afraid of the sand fleas. Yep. So we said, hey, what if we do something else? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So we're like, you know what? You wanted to go to Maryland. Let's go to Maryland.
Enzo's always wanted to go on an airplane.
I've got clients in Maryland that I can go see. Mm-hmm. And we've got, you know, our good family friend is a contractor that I use for projects, and we're going to go meet with them, have dinner with them, and
hang out at their new house. Yeah. And their kids are Enzo's age, and
so
it's going to be a good time.
Family, it's great.
I think that's the thing, though, is like, this trip wasn't about your sister's family, and I think that bothers her, and kind of saying, hey, if these dates work for you, great. If not, we're still coming out there and we just won't see you. Yeah. Was not something that sat well with her to realize, like, it's not about her. Yeah. You know, and that's okay. Like, we like to do things our way.
Yeah. Because, I mean, anytime she comes out here, it's about her. Mm-hmm. You know, and, you know, we kind of go out of our way to let her, you know, hey, you can come here. You don't have to. You know, you're welcome. But, you know, typically it's about her. She's flying back and forth to go see her friends and to get tattoos and do whatever the hell she does. And, you know, so anyway, whatever.
I'm excited for...
Yeah, I think it'll be a good trip.
Yeah. I know Enzo's really excited. He's still been talking about it, like, almost every day. Good.
So he's never been on an airplane, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm intrigued how that one goes, but well, it'll be good.
Well, thanks for listening.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. You can check us out at
freezermilk.com
or Instagram.
Freezer Milk Podcast.
Until next week, guys. Thanks.
Don't forget, parenting is a trip. We are all here on the journey with you together. Thanks so much for listening.